Hi, welcome to this episode of Low Carb in the Leaves on Australia Day. Welcome everybody, I'm Dr. Mary Barson from Real Life Medicine. This week I'm talking about autoimmunity, and I gave a sort of a brief introduction yesterday, and I mentioned that it is both a genetic and an environmental condition. So the genetics is kind of like the fuel that can allow an autoimmune condition to occur, and then in the environment is like the trigger that lights this. So you need both the genetic predisposition, the genetics, and some kind of environmental trigger and environmental causes. And also with the treatment of autoimmune illnesses, obviously we can't do much about our genetics. However, removing some of the environmental triggers and some of the environmental perpetuators is a really useful treatment. So I mentioned them briefly yesterday, the human leukocyte antigen genes, the HLA genes, and there's some that are really well characterised being involved in some autoimmune illnesses. The HLA-DQ2 and the HLA-DQ8 genes are well known for being needed essentially for the development of celiac disease. Also the HLA-B27 for the development of spondylitis. This is something we all learn in medical school. They're quite well-known genetic markers that we routinely test for when we suspect either of those illnesses. And there are lots of others. It's very complicated, all the other genetic predispositions to all the different types of autoimmune illnesses. So what are these environmental triggers? Well, one is actually gut dysbiosis and intestinal permeability. Incredibly, our gut bacteria have a role in regulating the differentiation of, I talked about yesterday, the effector T cells or the regulatory T cells. So the effector T cells like turn on the immune system, and the regulatory T cells are like, excellent job done, you can turn them off. Well, our gut bacteria have a role in regulating them. Like these bacteria in our gut have a role in regulating our immune system. It's mind-boggling. But when we've got a dysbiotic gut, that is a gut microbiome that is out of balance and is not a particularly healthy or well-balanced ecosystem, then it can be sometimes that environmental trigger. Also leaky gut, intestinal permeability allows undesirable bacteria to leak out from where they should be happily sitting in the gut, to leak out where they can then trigger an immune response, which can then ultimately trigger an autoimmune attack. So gut health is really important. And we teach gut health a lot in Real Life Medicine. We teach like the very simple, very straightforward, very actionable steps that people can do to improve their gut health. And coming up in February, we've got our wonderful Rebalance program. This is our mind and body rebalance. It's a fantastic 12-week program, and we spend an entire week on gut health and empowering our wonderful participants to take really very simple actions to heal their guts, so that you can, if you had an autoimmune illness, you can reduce its severity, improve symptoms, maybe even start to heal from it, and certainly prevent one from developing if you have those genetic factors. But there are other triggers definitely for autoimmune illnesses. The excessive hygiene hypothesis has been around for a long time, that in our modern society we don't get exposed to a lot of dirt when we're little, and that our immune system doesn't learn how to respond appropriately. So being excessively clean as babies and children can lead us prone to autoimmune illnesses. Particular things in our diet too, like gluten, has been implicated in definitely celiac disease, which is an autoimmune illness, but also in non-celiac illnesses. And there is evidence now that a gluten-free diet can help ameliorate non-celiac autoimmune illnesses. So avoiding gluten can help people even if it's not celiac disease. And certainly we are big advocates of, grain-free diets, basically. Grains are not necessarily your friend, particularly if you have a weight loss goal, particularly if you've got metabolic disease, particularly if you've got issues with inflammation or poor gut health, or if you just want to reduce your inflammation and improve your gut health, then grain-free diets are wonderful. And that is part of our real food philosophy. All right, and the other important triggers, which we also talk about in our rebalance program, chronic stress, really is a well-established risk factor for autoimmune disease. Stress can trigger autoimmunity by altering the gut bacteria, as we discussed previously, but also causing dysregulation to the whole adrenal hormonal system, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, HPA axis. And that's the body's primary stress response system, and that really influences our immune function. And we spend a good 2 weeks on stress management as well in our rebalance program. And yes, sleep deprivation and circadian disruption are two things that can also set our bodies out of whack and our immune systems out of whack and trigger autoimmunity in genetically predisposed people. But all of these things, all of these triggers are also part of the treatment. I'm a doctor, and I firmly believe that Western medicine and Western medications have got a lot to offer. They have a lot to offer people with autoimmune illnesses. But lifestyle, I think, is incredibly important as well. And I don't think it's an either-or proposition. It's not like if you have, like an autoimmune illness, it's like there's a fire inside your home. And I think that it's important to throw everything that you can at it. I reckon there's a little bit of people who perhaps would be completely unwilling to consider the role of medications in their autoimmune illness. I kind of have this analogy in my mind. It's a little bit like saying, well, yep, sure, there's a fire in my kitchen, but I'm only going to use a fire blankets to put it off. Any kind of fire blanket I can, that's fine, but no fire extinguishers, certainly no chemicals. I'm not using that at all. Whereas I kind of think if there's a fire in your house, you just want to get it out. And obviously this analogy has limitations, but just put the fire out any way that you can and deal with the underlying lifestyle factors. I think that is far more important than anything else. So I say some people can be dismissive of medications, but certainly some of my colleagues can be very dismissive of lifestyle, which is extremely disheartening to say the least. It is quite bizarre to me that not all doctors, but some doctors don't even think about diet or dismiss diet as there being an important part of health and healing. And it is odd that we somehow can make this distinction between the 1 to 3 kilos, 1 to 5 kilos of food and fluid that you ingest as part of your nutrition, 1 to 5 kilos, depending on what kind of day you're having, is somehow completely separate and distinct in its effect on your health to the 5 to 10 micrograms of medications that you take, which is absurd. Of course, all of the food and the fluid that we put into our bodies is going to dramatically affect our health. Indeed, the food and fluid that we put into our bodies actively affects our gut bacteria, actively affects our gene expression, the health of our cells. What we eat and what we drink really affects our body. Food is medicine, and medicine is medicine, and I think that they all can be useful in getting well. All right. Well, if you're at all interested in our rebalance program, our mind and body total rebalance program, which is launching in February, it's a 12-week program. You have to get in before the cart's closed. The cart will be opening in the end of January, and we're starting in that second week of Feb. Please go to our website, rlmedicine.com, and check it out. All right, wonderful people. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice Australia Day.